Every trader begins with a spark. Sometimes it's a late-night YouTube video, a post on Instagram, a friend bragging about how they made $800 before breakfast. Sometimes it's just curiosity, that whisper of what if? What if I could be one of the few? What if I could trade my way to freedom? That whisper grows louder with every story of fast success. Screenshots, Lamborghinis, smiling faces in front of monitors filled with candlesticks. It all feels possible, right there, within reach. So you open your laptop, create an account, and place your first trade. You click buy and watch the candle rise. You make a little profit. It feels electric, not just the money, but the control, the power, the idea that you might have finally found the thing that can change your life. And in that moment, you believe you've arrived. But here's the truth most people never see until it's too late. The beginning feels like the finish line. You think you've discovered freedom, but what you've really found is a mirror, one that's about to show you everything you don't want to see about yourself. Let's talk about what happens next. The early wins, the lucky streaks, the confidence that feels like certainty. You start thinking, I'm different. I get this. You imagine the path from here is just scaling up. A few tweaks, more capital, bigger trades, more profits. But trading has a cruel sense of humor. It gives you a taste of victory, not to reward you, but to expose you. Because that first taste hooks you to your emotions. You start expecting the market to behave according to your desires. You think your belief, your analysis, your conviction matters. Then, one day, it doesn't. You take a trade that looks perfect. Every indicator aligns. The setup is textbook. And it goes the other way. You lose. Then you lose again. Suddenly, your emotions flood in. Anger, confusion, disbelief. You double your position. You break your own rules. You tell yourself, I'll just make it back. But the market doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your desperation. It only cares about your discipline, and right now, you have none. Your account balance is smaller, your confidence is shattered, and somewhere between hope and frustration, you whisper the words every broken trader says at least once. Maybe this isn't for me. Most people quit not because trading is hard, but because it's different from what they imagined. They thought it was a path to freedom. They discover it's a confrontation with their inner chaos. Trading doesn't test your technical skill first, it tests your patience, your ego, your emotional control. And almost everyone fails that test. Because trading is not about predicting charts, it's about predicting yourself. What you'll do when the market moves against you. When you're down for the week, when fear tells you to exit too soon, or greed whispers, just one more trade. It's easy to look calm when the candles move in your favor, but consistency isn't built on green days. It's forged in red ones. When the market humiliates you, when you sit there staring at your loss and your brain screams, fix it now, that's the moment that defines you. Most traders fail right there, not because they don't know what to do, but because they can't stop themselves from doing the opposite. There's a rhythm in trading that repeats like a cruel song. Excitement, profit, overconfidence, loss, denial, desperation, quit. Every new trader dances to it. Some repeat it dozens of times. A few learn the rhythm so deeply that they finally understand the only way to escape it is not to fight the market, but to master themselves. Most never get that far. They quit in the despair stage, right after overconfidence collapses, when hope feels fake and effort feels useless. They think quitting ends the pain, but what they're really quitting is the process of becoming someone new. Because here's the part nobody tells you, trading doesn't just make or lose you money, it remakes you as a person. It forces you to grow, or it breaks you until you do. The psychology of quitting. Why do so many traders quit just before they start improving? Because they confuse pain with proof. They think the pain of losing means they're failing, but in truth, that pain is the tuition of progress. Every skill that matters hurts to learn, from discipline to emotional control. But most people were never trained to sit with pain. Society teaches instant results, instant validation, instant gratification. Trading teaches the opposite. Trading says, sit, watch, wait. And for a generation raised on speed, that's unbearable. So they quit. Not because they can't learn, but because they can't wait long enough for the learning to take root. A mirror named the market. The market is not your enemy. It's not even your competition. It's a reflection. It shows you your greed, your fear, your arrogance, your self-doubt, and it does so in numbers, in real money. You can't lie to the market, and you can't hide from it. It always tells you the truth about yourself. That's why trading is so personal. You're not just battling volatility, you're battling your own psychology. Every bad habit you've ever had shows up here. Impatience, revenge, ego, insecurity. And unless you deal with them, they'll empty your account faster than any losing trade. The traders that make it, they don't eliminate emotion, they learn to see it, to understand it, to trade with it, not against it. The first real lesson of trading isn't about indicators, entries, or exits. It's this. You don't get paid for being right. You get paid for staying sane. Success in trading doesn't come from brilliance, it comes from endurance. The ability to survive long enough for your experience to catch up to your ambition. The market rewards those who stay in the chair, not those who flinch, rage, or retreat. It punishes the impulsive and strengthens the patient. And so most traders never reach that point, not because the mountain is too high, but because they stop climbing halfway up. If you've ever blown an account, stared at your screen wondering what went wrong, felt the sinking pit in your stomach as a trade reversed, you're not failing. You're being invited. Invited to step beyond the illusion. Invited to understand that trading isn't a game of prediction, it's a game of psychological endurance. The question is not, can you win? The question is, can you stay? Because the truth is simple. The longer you stay, the more the market teaches you. The more it teaches you, the better you get. And the better you get, the more success starts to look less like luck and more like inevitability. Most traders never reach that point, but you could.
Most traders think their battle is with the market. They believe if they can just find the perfect strategy, the flawless entry, the one indicator that predicts the next move, everything will click. They think success is a matter of information. But the truth is, trading doesn't destroy people through ignorance. It destroys them through emotion. The market doesn't care about your plan. It tests your patience, your discipline, your ability to stay calm when chaos hits. It's not the chart that breaks you. It's your own mind. You wake up one morning, look at your screen, and see the setup you've been waiting for all week. Every candle aligns, the volume confirms, the timing feels perfect. You enter the trade, your heart pounding. For a few minutes, you're on top of the world. The trade moves in your favor, the balance rises, your brain floods with dopamine. You start calculating potential profits, dreaming about what you'll do with the money. Then, without warning, the market reverses. The same setup that looked flawless a minute ago now looks like a trap. The candle eats your gains, then your entry, then your stop loss. You stare at the screen in disbelief. The rush turns to rage. You feel robbed, betrayed, cheated. So you do what almost every trader does in that moment. You take another trade, not because it's part of your plan, but because your pride can't handle being wrong repeatedly. Revenge trading is the moment emotion wins. It's the point where the market becomes your opponent instead of your teacher. You start fighting it, trying to prove something. But the market doesn't argue. It just takes. It feeds on impatience, on ego, on fear. The more you push, the deeper you dig your hole. You think, I'll just make back what I lost. But what you're really doing is making sure you lose more. And when it's finally over, when your account bleeds red and your confidence collapses, the same thought creeps in again. Maybe this isn't for me. What most people never realize is that this emotional storm is not proof that you're broken. It's proof that you're human. The market is designed to expose the parts of you that don't yet belong to mastery. The fear of missing out, the need to be right, the rush of greed, the sting of loss, these are the true opponents. Every tick on the chart is a reflection of your state of mind. You can't fix the market, but you can fix your reaction to it. And until you do, no amount of technical knowledge will save you. There's a cruel irony here. The smarter someone is, the more dangerous they become to themselves in trading, because intelligence feeds overconfidence. You convince yourself you can outthink randomness. You start believing that the next trade will obey logic, that your analysis guarantees an outcome. But the market doesn't run on logic. It runs on probabilities. You can do everything right and still lose. And most people can't accept that. They need to be right more than they need to be disciplined. That's why they lose. Not because they lack skill, but because they cannot emotionally handle being wrong repeatedly without losing control. In trading, your greatest asset isn't your brain. It's your ability to stay neutral, to feel fear and not react to it, to feel greed and not chase it, to feel doubt and still follow your plan. That's emotional mastery. And that mastery doesn't come from winning trades. It comes from surviving losing ones. Every loss is an opportunity to study yourself, to ask, what emotion controlled me this time? The traders who rise don't avoid pain. They dissect it. They journal every mistake. They face the discomfort most people run from. That's how they evolve. But let's be honest, the emotional weight of trading is heavier than it looks from the outside. You think you can handle it until you feel it for the first time. Watching your balance fluctuate is not just numbers on a screen. It's hope and fear colliding in real time. Each tick can trigger an entire storm of emotions. Some people can't even breathe normally when they're in a losing trade. Their heart races, their palms sweat, their brain screams for action. That physiological reaction, that flood of adrenaline makes it almost impossible to think clearly. You're no longer making decisions, you're reacting. And reaction is death in trading. This is where most people fail. They think emotional control is about suppressing feelings. It's not. It's about managing them. You can't silence fear, but you can stop it from driving your choices. You can't erase greed, but you can structure your risk so that greed doesn't destroy you. Discipline isn't about feeling nothing. It's about doing what you said you would do, no matter what you feel. That's why trading is the ultimate test of self-awareness. Every decision you make reflects your psychology more than your knowledge. Some people try to fix their emotions by adding more indicators. They think more data will calm them down, but complexity doesn't bring control, clarity does. Simplicity is power. A clean chart, a simple rule set, and an honest look at yourself, that's what creates stability. The market is already complex enough. If your mind is messy too, you don't stand a chance. The best traders don't win because they predict better, they win because they react slower. They have trained their minds to stay steady when everything around them moves violently. Think about this. Every professional trader you admire has been where you are. They've blown accounts, they've felt the panic, they've cursed the screen, sworn they'd never trade again, then came back anyway. The difference is they turned that pain into data. They didn't treat losing as punishment, they treated it as tuition. And that shift from victim to student changes everything. Because once you stop seeing losses as threats, they stop controlling you. The emotional war never ends. Even seasoned traders still feel it. The difference is they've learned to interpret emotions as signals, not orders. Fear says check your risk. Greed says you're pushing too hard. Doubt says revisit your process. Each emotion has a message. When you learn to listen instead of react, you gain control. But if you silence them, if you act impulsively, they'll destroy you quietly. Most traders never reach that level of awareness. They burn out before they get there. They let emotions convince them to quit. They walk away not because they couldn't learn, but because they couldn't handle how learning felt. That's the great tragedy.
Not that people fail, but that they leave the arena before they've even seen what they're capable of. The market isn't trying to ruin you, it's trying to reveal you. Every loss, every fear, every breakdown is a test. Will you run, or will you learn to stand still? The traders who survive long enough to win understand something simple but profound. The market's chaos is not a threat, it's an invitation to master yourself under pressure, to remain calm when everything screams panic, to stay patient when impatience burns. That's the real game. And the few who learn it eventually realize that trading isn't about charts at all. It's about character. The market pays you in proportion to the person you become. You don't just earn money, you earn emotional control, you earn patience, you earn clarity. And that's why so few people make it. Because those rewards come after the pain, not before. They come after the sleepless nights, the blown accounts, the broken confidence. They come after you faced yourself in the mirror and admitted that your biggest enemy isn't volatility, it's your inability to stay calm within it. The emotional battle is brutal, invisible, and unrelenting. But if you can endure it, if you can keep showing up even when your mind screams to quit, you eventually reach a point where the noise fades. The market doesn't scare you anymore. The emotions still come, but they pass through you instead of controlling you. You stop fighting the storm, you become the calm inside it. That's when trading transforms from chaos to rhythm, from stress to flow, from gambling to mastery. Most traders will never reach that point because they quit too soon. But if you stay, if you learn to manage your emotions instead of escaping them, you'll find something far more valuable than profit: peace. And in trading, peace is the ultimate edge.
At some point, every trader realizes that emotion alone isn't the problem. The real challenge is discipline, the quiet, repetitive, unglamorous work that happens when no one's watching. Discipline is what separates the hopeful from the consistent, the dreamers from the professionals. And yet, it's the one thing almost everyone underestimates. They think they can will their way through the chaos with motivation. They believe that watching a few inspiring videos will harden their mind. But motivation fades. Discipline doesn't. Discipline is what carries you when inspiration is gone and the screen feels like an enemy. Every new trader promises themselves they'll be disciplined. They say, "I'll follow my plan this time." But discipline isn't a decision, it's a habit forged through repetition. It's the ability to do what's right, not what feels right. And the truth is, most people never train for that. They build strategies, but not structure. They want success, but not the routine that sustains it. They crave the feeling of mastery, but avoid the boredom that builds it. Because discipline is boring. It's waking up at the same time every day. It's journaling even when you lost. It's reviewing every trade even when you'd rather forget. It's following your rules when your heart screams to break them. There's no thrill in that, only quiet progress. And because it's quiet, most traders never hear it happening. Imagine two traders starting on the same day. Both study charts, both learn strategies, both take losses. The difference isn't intelligence or luck, it's structure. Trader A journals every trade, reviews his emotions, sticks to his risk limits even when tempted. Trader B wings it, trading on feel, trusting his instincts more than his plan. After 6 months, Trader B has more excitement, more adrenaline, more screenshots, but less capital. Trader A, on the other hand, feels slow, methodical, and sometimes bored. Yet, quietly, he's improving. While Trader B rides an emotional roller coaster, Trader A builds a foundation. After a year, the difference is night and day. One is exhausted, the other is consistent. That's discipline in action. It doesn't look dramatic, it looks dull, but it works. Discipline is how you survive the long stretches when nothing seems to work. It's the rope you hold onto when your mind starts whispering that maybe you're wasting your time. There will be days, weeks, even months where it feels like you're moving backward. You'll second-guess your system, your skill, your purpose. That's when most people quit. But the disciplined trader keeps going. They don't chase perfection, they chase process. They understand that progress in trading is invisible for a long time, like roots growing underground before a tree breaks the surface. You don't see results for months, sometimes years, but if you stay consistent, the foundation solidifies. And when it finally blooms, it seems sudden to everyone else,
but not to you. You know how long it took. Patience is the twin brother of discipline. You can't have one without the other. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about waiting without frustration. It's sitting through slow markets, watching setups pass by, resisting the urge to trade just to feel productive. It's trusting that opportunity will come even when nothing is happening. That's hard for most people. We live in a world of speed, fast internet, fast food, fast dopamine. Trading is the opposite. It rewards the slow, the patient, the ones who wait for the right moment instead of chasing every flicker of movement. Impatient traders bleed slowly, not because their strategy is wrong, but because their timing is. They keep pressing buttons to fill the silence, not realizing that silence is where the best traders sharpen their edge. Discipline and patience often feel like suffering because they require restraint. They ask you to say no when everything in you wants to say yes. No to overtrading, no to revenge trades, no to breaking your plan. Every no is a small sacrifice, and every sacrifice strengthens your control. Most traders never learn to delay gratification. They want the reward now, but the market only pays those who can wait longer than everyone else. It's a game of endurance, not intelligence. You can be the smartest person in the room and still lose to someone with more patience, because patience outlasts prediction. The disciplined trader understands that trading is 90% waiting and 10% executing. Most of the job is preparation, analyzing, planning, observing. The actual act of trading takes seconds, but those seconds are meaningless without the hours of discipline behind them. You don't rise in trading by doing more. You rise by doing less, but better, by removing noise, removing randomness, removing ego. The real mastery comes not from adding things to your chart, but from subtracting everything that doesn't serve you. That's the quiet art of discipline, the art of subtraction. Some days, discipline feels like failure. You follow every rule and still, the trade loses. You wait patiently for your setup and it goes wrong anyway. You manage risk perfectly, but your equity curve dips. Those are the moments that break people. They think, what's the point of being disciplined if I still lose? But that's the trap. The point of discipline isn't to guarantee profit, it's to guarantee survival. It's to keep you in the game long enough for probabilities to finally work in your favor. The market rewards endurance, not emotion. You can't control outcome, only execution. The traders who make it understand this deeply. They accept loss with the same calm as they accept gain, because both are temporary. What's permanent is the process. Every habit in trading compounds, both good and bad. One broken rule today becomes a pattern tomorrow. One act of restraint today becomes discipline tomorrow. Most people underestimate how much small actions accumulate. They think only big wins matter. But mastery is built on microscopic choices, the ones no one sees, the ones that seem meaningless at the time. Skipping a journal entry, ignoring a stop loss, taking one extra trade, they seem small until they become normal. And once they become normal, they become fatal. Discipline is about catching yourself in those tiny moments. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it's the difference between blowing an account and compounding it. When you watch professional traders, you'll notice they look almost emotionless, not because they don't care, but because they've trained their emotions into structure. They've turned chaos into ritual. Every move they make has intention. They don't trade because they feel like it. They trade because their plan says it's time. That's the level of consistency that turns amateurs into professionals. Consistency is not about winning every trade, it's about executing your edge over and over without emotional interference. It's mechanical, almost meditative, and that's why most people can't do it, because they crave excitement, not repetition. There's a saying among seasoned traders, you're not here to make money, you're here to make good trades. That sounds simple, but it's profound. Good trades aren't defined by profit, they're defined by process. A losing trade that followed your plan is a win. A winning trade that broke your rules is a loss. The disciplined trader understands this. They measure success not by dollars, but by decisions. That's what keeps them grounded, because money comes and goes, but discipline stays. It's the one variable you can control in a system built on uncertainty. Over time, something shifts. The same charts that once triggered anxiety start to feel neutral. The same setups that once created panic now feel routine. You stop needing the market to move fast. You stop chasing. You start waiting. And in that waiting, you find clarity. You begin to realize that trading is less about reacting and more about allowing the process to unfold, allowing time to compound, allowing yourself to evolve. You stop forcing outcomes and start managing behavior. And in that quiet shift, you become what most never do: consistent. But here's the paradox. Consistency feels boring. It lacks drama. It lacks adrenaline. You won't be screenshotting small, steady profits on social media. You won't have wild stories to tell. You'll just have peace. And most people don't know how to handle peace. They crave the chaos. That's why so many return to impulsiveness even after they've tasted consistency. They miss the thrill. But thrill is the enemy of mastery. Mastery is quiet, repetitive, almost meditative. It's the slow rhythm of patience layered on discipline until it becomes instinct. And that instinct, that calm, emotionless, precise way of operating is what separates survivors from statistics. Trading will test your patience more than anything else you've ever done. It will push you to the edge of your self-control, and then it will wait. It doesn't reward the quick. It rewards the ones who can outlast uncertainty, who can keep showing up when the results don't come. Because results in trading don't arrive in a straight line. They come in bursts, in sudden breakthroughs that look like luck, but are really just the delayed reward of discipline. Most traders quit in the waiting. The few who don't, who sit through the silence, who hold their structure while others fall apart, those are the ones who finally see consistency. Not because they were gifted, but because they refused to let impatience decide for them.
There comes a point in every trader's journey where the charts start to feel like company. The glowing monitor becomes your confidant. You spend hours staring at patterns, analyzing movements, backtesting setups, chasing clarity that never fully arrives. The room is quiet except for the hum of the computer and the faint ticking of the clock. Time disappears. Day turns into night, night into day. You start to lose track of what normal feels like. The markets open, the markets close, and you remain, watching, waiting, alone. Trading is one of the loneliest pursuits in the world. There are no teammates, no crowds, no external validation. It's you versus yourself every single day. When you win, nobody cheers. When you lose, nobody consoles you. You carry both the pride and the shame in silence. Most people outside this world will never understand it. They think trading is just numbers and screens. But it's far more human than that. It's emotion, struggle, self-doubt, perseverance, played out privately while the rest of the world goes on unaware. You might have friends who mean well but don't get it. They see you stressed and tell you to take a break. They see your losses and tell you to quit. They don't understand that quitting doesn't fix the ache inside, because it was never just about money. It was about proving something to yourself, about breaking free, about control in a world that often feels uncontrollable. But as the weeks stretch on, as the isolation deepens, you start to question yourself. You wonder if this journey is making you stronger or slowly hollowing you out. You ask yourself if the silence is teaching you discipline or just eroding your spirit. Most traders don't talk about this part, the emptiness, the quiet pressure that builds when you're grinding in solitude, staring at a screen that seems to reflect all your insecurities back at you. When you start trading, it feels like freedom. No boss, no schedule, no ceiling. But soon, that freedom turns into something else. Without structure, freedom becomes chaos. Without connection, freedom becomes isolation. And in that isolation, doubt multiplies. There will be mornings where you wake up and the thought of opening your trading platform fills you with dread. Not because you don't want to trade, but because you don't want to face yourself again. The market has a way of amplifying whatever's inside you. If you're confident, it tests that. If you're fearful, it exposes it. If you're uncertain, it punishes it. You start realizing that every trade is a conversation with your subconscious. It's not about what the price is doing, it's about what you're feeling. And sometimes you don't like the answers that come back. That's why so many traders fade quietly. They don't blow up in one dramatic loss. They erode slowly,
losing a little more belief each day, until one morning they just stop. They close the laptop, tell themselves they'll take a short break, and never return. Their dream fades quietly, like smoke in the air. It's not that they lacked skill, it's that they couldn't handle the silence. The solitude became heavier than the losses. The few who survive learn to make peace with it. They learn that isolation isn't their enemy, it's their forge. The loneliness that breaks most people is the same solitude that shapes those who endure. In the quiet, with no one to blame, no one to validate you, no one to comfort you, that's where you start to see yourself clearly. You start to hear the patterns of your own thoughts. You start to realize how much of your trading isn't about logic, but about emotion disguised as logic. And slowly, that awareness becomes strength, because the moment you can see your own mind clearly, you stop being ruled by it. The greatest breakthroughs often happen when you're alone long enough to confront your own truth, when the noise fades and you finally sit with the discomfort, the frustration, the self-doubt. Something shifts. You begin to understand that loneliness isn't punishment, it's preparation. The market isolates you to reveal who you are without the masks. It strips away illusion, forcing you to see what's real. Your habits, your fears, your patterns, your resilience. That process feels brutal. It is, but it's also necessary. Most people run from isolation. They seek distraction, music, social media, noise, anything to fill the void. But the traders who endure learn to embrace the silence. They turn it into a laboratory. They study their behavior. They refine their systems. They listen to the voice inside that says, "You're not good enough." And instead of arguing, they respond, "Not yet." That single word, "yet," is the difference between quitting and evolving. Not yet turns pain into patience, defeat into data, loneliness into learning. There will be nights where you question everything, when you stare at your screen exhausted, wondering why you're doing this. You'll ask if it's worth it, the sleepless nights, the missed moments, the quiet suffering. And every time the answer will depend on one thing, your reason. If you came from money, you'll leave in frustration. If you came from mastery, you'll stay through the storm. Because trading will give you money eventually, but only after it takes everything else first. Your comfort, your ego, your illusions. It will break you down, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you as someone who can handle success without being consumed by it. Some days you'll feel like you're walking through fog, no clarity, no certainty, just instinct and persistence. That's normal. The market rarely rewards clarity, it rewards composure. The fog never goes away, you just get used to walking through it. You learn to trust the compass inside you, your process, your discipline, your experience. You stop needing certainty from the charts, you start generating it from within. That's the moment you stop being a beginner, not when you find the perfect strategy, but when you realize you no longer need one to feel confident. In the quiet months when progress feels invisible, when nobody's watching, when it feels like you're grinding for nothing, that's when your foundation is being built. Most people want visible success. They want recognition, validation, proof. But trading doesn't give you that early on. It gives you silence and uncertainty. And if you can learn to stay consistent in that environment, if you can keep showing up when nothing seems to work, you're already ahead of 95% of traders. Because most people disappear before the reward arrives. They quit at the exact moment their persistence starts to matter. The isolation teaches you something profound: self-reliance. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop seeking reassurance. You start trusting your preparation. You realize that no one is coming to save you. No mentor, no signal, no shortcut. Just you, your rules, and your ability to follow them. That realization is heavy at first, but freeing later. Because once you understand that you are fully responsible for every outcome, you stop fearing losses. You stop blaming the market. You start focusing entirely on what you can control. And that shift from victim to owner changes everything. Over time, solitude becomes your ally.
You start enjoying the stillness. You find peace in the process. You begin to crave the silence, not because it's easy, but because it's honest. There's a strange beauty in the loneliness of trading, the raw, unfiltered confrontation with yourself. It's not glamorous, but it's real. And that reality is rare in a world addicted to distraction. The isolation doesn't disappear as you improve. It just transforms. It stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like focus. You no longer see it as punishment, you see it as a privilege, the space where growth happens, the silence where you build the mental armor that others never will. Because while everyone else is chasing signals, you're chasing self-awareness. And that's the edge no one can replicate. In the end, trading isn't about beating the market. It's about outlasting your weaknesses. It's about learning to sit in the quiet when everyone else runs from it. The loneliness that once felt unbearable becomes your sanctuary, the space where you think clearly, act rationally, and grow deliberately. The silence that once scared you becomes the sound of progress. And the solitude that once threatened to break you becomes the forge that makes you unbreakable. That's what most people miss. They think the journey ends when they find success, but the truth is, success begins when you learn to stay alone without losing your mind, because only then are you truly ready for what the market has to give.
There comes a moment, usually after you've been broken, humbled, and stretched beyond what you thought you could handle, when something inside you finally clicks. It doesn't happen in a single trade or a sudden epiphany. It happens quietly, after months of frustration, failure, and reflection. You sit down at your desk one morning, open the charts, and realize that you feel different. The anxiety that used to surge before every trade is gone. The noise in your head has softened, the market moves, and for the first time in a long time, you don't feel the need to chase it. You simply watch. You wait. You execute. And when the trade plays out, win or lose, you feel nothing but clarity. That's the moment when you realize you've crossed over from surviving to mastering. It doesn't mean the pain stops. It means the pain no longer controls you. You still take losses, but they don't shake you. You still have doubts, but they don't define you. You've learned that mastery isn't about eliminating emotion, it's about coexisting with it. You can feel fear and still act rationally. You can feel greed and still stick to your plan. You've become steady inside the storm, and in that steadiness, you discover something that every trader chases, but few ever find. Peace. Peace doesn't come from winning every trade. It comes from knowing that you no longer need to. You've accepted the randomness of the market. You've accepted that perfection doesn't exist, that uncertainty is permanent, and that control is an illusion. Once you stop fighting those truths, you're free. You stop needing to predict every move. You stop needing to be right. You start focusing only on what you can control, your process, your risk, your mindset. That's when consistency begins to appear, almost effortlessly. It's not magic. It's the result of thousands of invisible corrections, tiny adjustments made in silence while everyone else was quitting. The traders who reach this stage carry a calm confidence. They know they can lose today and still be fine tomorrow. They know one bad day doesn't erase their edge. They know that long-term success is built not on single trades, but on thousands of disciplined repetitions. They've stopped measuring themselves by outcomes and started measuring themselves by behavior. Every day they ask one question: did I execute well? If the answer is yes, they've already won. That shift changes everything, because when you stop chasing money, money starts to follow. Most people never reach this stage because they're still chasing validation. They want the big win, the perfect month, the social proof. They crave recognition more than growth. But the ones who make it stop playing for applause. They play for mastery. They understand that true success in trading is invisible. It happens internally, not publicly. The outside world only sees the results later, long after the internal transformation has taken place. If you stay long enough, you start to see patterns not just in charts, but in yourself. You recognize the signs of your own impulsiveness before it arrives. You catch the flicker of greed before it grows. You feel the subtle tension of fear and know how to release it. You become aware in real time, and that awareness becomes your edge. You stop reacting, you start responding. And in that gap between reaction and response lies every profitable decision you will ever make. The funny thing about trading mastery is that it's not dramatic. It's quiet. There's no moment of arrival, no cinematic breakthrough. It's just small, consistent execution layered over time until the chaos that used to terrify you becomes background noise. The same market that once felt hostile now feels neutral. The same volatility that once rattled you now feels like rhythm. You begin to sense the pulse of the market like a musician feels tempo. You don't force trades, you flow with them. And that flow is what every beginner dreams of, but only the patient ever experience. This transformation doesn't make you invincible. You'll still have losing streaks, you'll still question yourself sometimes, but you'll also know how to come back. You'll trust the process that carried you through every previous storm. That's what resilience really is. Not the absence of pain, but the confidence that you can recover from it. Every professional trader you admire has been there. Blown accounts, sleepless nights, months of doubt. The difference is they kept going. They stayed when others ran. They learned that perseverance isn't a motivational slogan, it's a muscle built through repetition. And one day, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. You'll remember the nights when you almost quit, the mornings when you questioned everything, the days when losses felt unbearable. You'll remember thinking that consistency was impossible. And now, here you are, steady, disciplined, profitable, not because the market changed, but because you did. You've grown into someone who no longer needs luck, who no longer flinches at uncertainty. You've become the trader you used to envy. But here's the truth that will surprise you. When you finally reach this level, the victory doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like quiet satisfaction, like exhaling after holding your breath for years. You realize that success wasn't about escaping struggle, it was about learning to live inside it without breaking. The discipline that once felt restrictive now feels liberating. The patience that once felt impossible now feels natural. The loneliness that once felt unbearable now feels like focus. You don't trade to escape life anymore. You trade to express mastery within it. And yet, even now, the journey doesn't end because the market never stops teaching. Every day it presents a new lesson, a new reminder of humility. No matter how skilled you become, the moment you think you've conquered it, it will humble you again. But this time, you'll smile because you finally understand that humility isn't weakness. It's protection. It keeps you alert. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you in the game. The irony of trading is that the goal isn't to win every time. It's to stay long enough to let winning become inevitable. The market rewards those who refuse to leave. Time in the chair. That's the real edge. Not indicators, not strategies, not secrets, just time. Every hour you endure builds experience. Every mistake you survive builds wisdom. Every loss you accept builds strength. That compounding doesn't show up on your chart, but it shapes your future. And eventually, it becomes the invisible momentum that carries you forward. Most people never see this stage because they quit during the darkness, before the light appears. They give up in the valley, not realizing the summit was one more climb away. You've probably been there yourself, staring at the screen, thinking it's pointless, convinced that you'll never figure it out. But if you didn't quit, if you stayed through that storm, you've already proven something few ever will. You've proven endurance. And endurance, more than intelligence, is the currency of mastery. Every trader who survives long enough discovers that trading isn't a financial pursuit, it's a spiritual one. It's a path of self-discovery disguised as a profession. The market forces you to face fear, greed, ego, doubt, every hidden part of yourself. It strips away your pretenses and leaves you bare. It teaches you to surrender control, to trust process, to live in uncertainty. And if you allow it, it transforms you. It turns impulsiveness into patience, arrogance into humility, chaos into calm. The profits are just a reflection of that inner transformation. You started this journey chasing freedom. You thought freedom meant money, the ability to live on your own terms. But now you understand that freedom isn't financial, it's psychological. It's waking up without fear. It's trading without anxiety. It's knowing that win or lose, you'll be fine because you've built something no loss can take away. Mastery over yourself. That's the real prize. That's the finish line most never see. And so the final lesson reveals itself. The market was never the opponent. It was the teacher. The obstacles weren't punishments. They were lessons. The failures weren't dead ends. They were milestones. Every loss was a message. Every frustration was feedback. Every moment you wanted to quit was a test of how much you truly wanted it.
The market never asked for perfection. It only asked for persistence. And now, looking back, you see the pattern clearly. The pain was preparation. The struggle was the shaping. The waiting was the work. If you're still here, still trading, still learning, still standing, you've already succeeded. You've done what most never do. You stayed. You endured. You learned to bend without breaking. That's the mark of a real trader, not the size of their account, but the strength of their patience. Because in the end, the market doesn't reward brilliance or luck. It rewards the ones who refuse to quit. You started this journey searching for profit. What you found was purpose. You thought you were chasing money, but you were really chasing mastery. And now, standing on the other side of all those losses, you finally see it. Success in trading isn't about finding the perfect system. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need one. The kind of person who can sit calmly in uncertainty, act decisively in chaos, and keep moving forward when everyone else stops. That's the real edge. So if you're listening to this right now, wondering if it's worth continuing, wondering if you're wasting your time, remember this: the moment you want to quit is usually the moment you are closest to the breakthrough. The pain you feel now isn't proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're growing. Stay in the chair. Keep refining. Keep learning. Keep enduring. Because one day you'll wake up, open your charts, and realize that you've become what you were chasing all along. Not a trader who survives the market, but a trader who understands it. And when that day comes, you'll know that every loss, every setback, every lonely night was worth it. Because the market doesn't reward those who start, it rewards those who stay. And the few who stay long enough discover the truth that everyone else quits before learning, that success was never somewhere out there in the future. It was always being built, trade by trade, moment by moment, in the person you were becoming all along.